Hello. Okay, testing. Oh, sorry for being late. My computer crashed just now. Hello. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Okay, so yes, okay, everything is set. Okay. All right, so guys, welcome back to my Friday live session. I've taken my so necessary breaks, and now I'm back. So, and for those who are new, my name is Esther from EC Metaphysics, right? I do these kind of Friday live sessions every Friday, except for certain days whereby like last 2 weeks I was on my break, then I didn't do my Friday live. For those who have not already attended my live sessions, feel free to watch back my other live sessions where you can actually find it in my Facebook, which I believe you are at right now. And then you can find out what kind of talks do I usually do. Most of the time, I usually do sharings on 八字. I think most people are pretty clear right now. My specialty usually comes within 八字. I don't do much talk on other metaphysics, right? Although I do practice it, but it's really not my kind of thing to do other things as well, right? So for those who wants to know more, I have my website set up, so feel free to check it out, right? And I tend to get some of these questions these days, whether or not do I do consults and classes? The answer is yes, but mainly on 八字 related, okay, which is something that I am still going to continue on, focusing on 八字 next year as well, right? So for those who are keen for consults, feel free to check it out, right? So coming back to today's topic, okay, which is something I think it's quite of a hot topic these days, right? Which is the water tiger year, okay? So basically, I'm not really sure how many of other people actually shared about this yet. I'm not sure. Most of the time, I think we've been seeing a lot of auxiliary stars, yeah, as far as I know. But today, I'm going to share with you guys on how Ren Yin, as in the water tiger, which is 2022, is going to be like in general, in overview, right? And from there on, you can learn how to use the information and apply them strategically with what you want to achieve in 2022. And that is really truly the purpose of understanding the whole year itself so that you can align with yourself. There are a few ways where we can use to actually analyze the yearly energy. Few ways through 八字, right? And this time and for today's sharing purposes, I'm going to share on the whole 八字 chart itself, okay? Because there are other ways whereby you can also use to access the yearly energy. Of course, then again, as we know, there's always more than just one method to read a 八字 chart, okay? So for those who are keen, feel free to share this out, all right? And feel free to comment whether you're here or not. I'm looking at your comments, okay? And feel free to share this out, all right? So, first things first, okay, I'm going to share with you guys on the annual chart itself, right? So I think this chart is not new, right? I guess most of you guys actually have seen this chart by now. So this is actually the global chart. We call it the global parts chart, the whole 2022's chart, right? Just so you know, the transition time is actually at the 4th of February 2022 around midnight. So we're looking at the 3rd February midnight going in. Hi, Cindy. Hello. Oh, I do have things here. Hi, Tony. Right. Hello, Manhoy. Welcome back. Right. So basically, this is a transition time. You can actually plot this chart yourself, if you actually have the 10,000 years calendar, right, you can just look at the tables, right, and then you pull it out yourself. That's how we actually find out the transition time. And every year it is different according to what calendar we're looking at, right? So whenever we want to look at the overall global events, we want to read the whole chart as it is. And by reading the whole chart as it is, the four pillar, it reflects to the overall world views, and then leading to what we can expect in the year, all right? So I'm going to touch a bit of technical stuff here, since I believe for those who are following my page and watching this, you guys are also learning metaphysics. So I'm going to incorporate a little bit of technicalities and explanation here, so you guys can benefit from it, and maybe you can do your own analysis as well. First things first, whenever we want to look at a global chart or any form of chart, okay, we want to look it in a technical terms first, and then only translate it in an explainable layman terms. So to what does it mean, all right? So first things first, we look at this chart. There are a few key points that we can truly highlight. And the first one is really that we don't see any interactions in this chart at all. So yay, good news, okay? No interaction, fun, right? Because usually any form of interactions in the chart indicates that the chart is really busy, and busy is perhaps not that great, right? So first thing, we don't see any form of interactions, okay? The branch, in the stem, none, right? So good news is that. However, okay, if you can see, what's really prominent in the chart here is the three tigers, one missing element, and there is a full yin, which is full yin meaning the same pillar at the month and the year. All right. So at one glance, if you just read the chart as it is in the interactive basis based on essential relationship, there's no interaction. And then you might think that, okay, nothing is going on. All right. But if you look at a different perspective, for those who have been following me in my Facebook Live, I always talk about not just essential relationships, meaning the clash, the destructions, and the harms, but I also talk a lot about elemental influences. As you can see, although there is no essential relationships, but if you look in terms of elemental influences, you will realize that this is a super imbalanced chart. The fact that we already have one missing element indicates that the whole chart itself is being skewed to one side. Meaning what? Meaning it's very extreme. Meaning when, if you look at a pie chart, not pie chart, I don't know, that kind of graph that you see, you realize that it's towards one corner of the chart. And obviously, okay, it's because there is three tigers in the chart, which each tiger itself carry the main chi of a wood, right? On top of that, there is a missing element of a metal. Metal element itself is to control the wood. So essentially, now the metal that is supposed to control the wood is not there anymore. So at normal circumstance, the wood is strong. But adding on an information whereby the element of metal is missing in the chart shows that wood is even stronger. So it's not about a very strong wood anymore. It's about a very strong wood. Okay. And the wood in here indicates a 7 killing in terms of 10 gods, right? So every time when we look in a bazi, right, really the key is to find balance in things. So we all know that this is an extreme chart. This is a skewed to one wood element kind of chart. We already know that it's not that great, right? Not that great meaning what? Because it's extreme, therefore it's harder to manage, okay? So we are looking at a 2022 energy whereby it's not easy to manage, right? Because it's either very strong of one thing or the none of anything. So by understanding itself, the personality of the year, right? We look at this, we read the chart as it is. For those who wants to know about 7 killings, okay, basically, you can go watch my previous video because I did a 10 God series on just 7 killing. You can watch about it, all right? But now I'm not going to go deep just purely on 7 killing because this chart itself, although it's a very strong 7 killing, but it does comprises of every other elements as well. So if you want to know more about 7 killing, you can check out my other videos, right? So bottom line is, okay, if we view this as a person, right? Like we always do when we look at charts, regardless whether it's a company, a country, or a birth of something, right? We always can relate it to a person because all we are reading, it's a form of energy. So it's easier to capture the concept if we understand and view the whole chart as a person, right? At this case, we are looking at a 2022 chart. So we are looking in terms of the energy of the whole year. So I've summarized down a few key points, which I find it really key highlights of the year, right? And with that, then you can really connect the dots and relate it to your environment and see whether it makes sense to you or not, right? So the first key is already something that I mentioned just now. It is one glance out of balance chart, despite even if there is no interactions at all, right? So out of balance indicate extreme personality, or we can call it extreme energy. Either can be extremely timid or extremely aggressive, or either it's out there or not at all. Basically, what we are saying is there's nothing in between. So it can also indicate whether you do very well or you don't do well at all. So there is no middle ground. So how can we use this kind of information for ourselves? Okay, basically, you can relate it because the energy, it is going to be this way. So you can put yourself in this kind of environment, right? If the kind of environment tends to pull you to the extremes, and if you yourself are somewhat always trying to be in the middle of things, meaning if you are in a way somewhat doubtful or always perhaps in the fence, not sure this and that, and not making any form of decision, not being decisive, you will either be pushed to one side or another, right? But really, it doesn't really matter which side it is, okay? Because it's just a concept of being extreme, all right? So it doesn't really matter which side you're at. But ideally, is that you do not want to be unconsciously being forced or unconsciously being pushed and unable to make a decision on your own and allow the surrounding energy to decide for you. And when we are in pressure, we tend to make the wrong decision as well. So basically, the conclusion whenever a chart is really extreme in a year like this, there is no space for self-doubt, right? So it's either you decide or you don't. The kind of like dabbling in between will perhaps struggle, all right? So these are the kind, you cannot dabble between a time whereby it's there or there. You cannot, there's no space in between, okay? It's either you pick a side, right? So if you don't choose it by yourself, circumstance will kind of force you to do that, all right? And you don't want that to happen during when you're at a certain position, okay? So that is number one, it's extreme, remember that. Number two, it's very mysterious. So if you just look at this chart, right, there's a lot of elements whereby it shows a mysterious person. Attractive, mysterious, okay? So attractiveness doesn't necessarily means it has to be in your face type beautiful, okay? Someone who is mysterious, right? Who shows a bit and hides a bit and hide more perhaps. It can be really like attractive in some way. So that is very mysterious. People want to know more about things. So imagine if this is a woman, is the kind of woman, or is a man, is the kind of man that when you speak to him or her, is the kind that, oh, you want to know more because it sounds very interesting, but I don't really know what. It's the kind of excitement, the kind of risk you're talking about, right? Why is that so? If you look at the pillar, day pillar itself, it's a woods. Woods itself is a mountain with a lot of mist. So you kind of like can see the mountain, but you know, the clouds are just covering a little bit. So it's kind of sexy, but not sexy at the same time. Okay, so, but you want to know more, right? So on top of that, even if you look at the month and the year pillar, which is the Ren Yin, right? Ren Yin itself, it represents the Amazon forest, okay? And inside an Amazon forest, right, there's a lot of things inside. Okay, so it is also quite mysterious if you stand outside the full tall grown trees, and inside, of course, there's like tigers inside, but it's really hidden. So it does create also another form of mysterious. And if also you look at the owl pillar, it's a deep compact forest. It's very dark. So if you put all the 60 pillars together, it is a very mysterious pillar. All right, but at the same time, it is mysteriously interesting because seven killing, it is also a very charismatic personality. So it is not like, okay, you're mysterious and I'm not interested. It's not. So the energy itself is very mysterious and attractive at the same time. So it kind of like will tempt people want to know more. Okay, but how is that information valuable to all of us? Okay, one thing is if we see an interesting forest, okay, interesting meaning mysterious in this sense, and we just walk into this mysterious forest without really understanding the Amazon, without understanding the forest, how dark is it at night, without understanding what kind of animals inside. But you go in because you see the mist, the beauty, beautiful tall trees, and it's interesting, it's alluring, right? You go inside, but you don't know what is there. It is quite dangerous, right? So it's like you walk into something somewhere very dark, but you can't really see what's inside. So the form of mysterious that comes with this whole chart itself has its hidden things. Whether it is opportunities or whether it's danger, it comes all together, because inside a forest, inside something that is big, there's always things that are inside, okay? So if we translate it into real life meaning, all right, we are looking at a year whereby many things look quite interesting, many things looks quite cool, many things looks quite, wow, it's kind of worth doing it. But then I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure whether should I be going forward for it, right? So everything seems vague and everything seems kind of nice. But then again, if you're not sure, you're going to get yourself into trouble. So with this kind of information, it does tell us that there's also going to be increase in a lot of nice looking superficial things that at the end of the day do not actually mean that, all right? Meaning there's a lot of cheating, there's a lot of scams going on. So there'll be a lot of look nice kind of thing, but the truth is there just to hunt you down. Example, when you go into a forest, suddenly all sorts of animals come in and attack you from the back, right? So we are looking into that kind of circumstance and that kind of energy for 2022 as well. Okay, so the next point here, we are talking about seven killings, right? Because it's a very strong seven killing chart. On top of that is also a very strong, very rooted wealth chart. So with that together in combination, we are talking about power and money come alongside, okay? And we can also say that the energy is also quite aggressive, very power-oriented, very fear-oriented, paranoia as well. And because it's seven killings, so it's a very dominating energy. People are into power. People want to hold power. People want to use the money. So basically, those who are already rich will become more powerful. Okay, so seven killing, on the other hand, is also someone and some things who are very influential. So people tend to be also very, how is it? Either you convince people very well or you are being convinced by people, right? Because all this energy around next year is a very influential, very charismatic. Again, remember, it's also a form of mysterious, a form of circumstance whereby people might fall into traps easily, right? And the fact that because there's a lot of fear as well, so it's normal that we kind of make certain mistakes because we see things not so clearly because of fear, right? So that is also another thing that we want to highlight. One point that I think is really, really important here is that the chart has no metal element. So metal element, when it's not there, okay, we reflect into what metal element really means. So metal element means what? Justice, right? So sometimes we are looking at a 2022 year, we are looking at a year whereby sense of justice is questionable, right? And also metal represents also the true purpose and contribution. And we are looking at the kind of year whereby 7 killing, taking action, but then no metal element, no purpose. So people might just be doing a lot of things without any true sense of purpose. So the truth is, at the end of the day, is compromise. At the end of the day, metal element in this chart also represents the output. See, output is a very important element in a chart, especially for a Wu-Earth Day master. All right, why is that so? Every Wu-Earth inside, what is inside the rock, what is inside the earth elements are all metal. They produce the metal. So the fact now that everyone is actually busy doing things, action-oriented, 7 killings, right? But then again, not only there is no purpose, right? Not only there is no justice, but then there's no true content, because the metal element represents the content, the things that are stored inside the earth. So there is actually no real thing inside. There's no value inside. There's no real substance inside the earth element. So imagine an earth, right? It's empty. So it's really quite hollow. Okay. So with that, there's no true productivity. So people might look like they're doing something, but actually, what are they actually outputting? There's none. There's really nothing there. Okay. So what is the truth at the end of the day? What is people actually truly doing? Right? What are people actually chasing after for? What is the real purpose at the end of the day? So you can see that the whole chart itself is very superficial. They are chasing over something, but the truth is inside is just empty. Okay, so we are looking also at the type of energy, and people are reacting that form of purpose, like without purpose. People do not really know what they are truly doing at the end of the day, because it's the kind of elemental influences that make people distract people to not look into what is truly inside the earth, right? So this is really, really quite interesting, because it is really going towards period 9. And for those who knows, period 9 is Li Gua, right? And if you look at the hexagram itself, you look at the shape, the middle is actually empty. Okay, so we are talking a lot of hollowness going on right now. And this chart itself, as you can see, because we are in a transition, so I'm not surprised at all. It's very aligned to where we are going. Okay, so this is the kind of thing that is really important for us to know on what are we truly doing. Because if you do not know and you just follow the things, you truly are actually going nowhere, right? So on top of that, another point I put here is the spiritual and intuitive driven year. Okay, as you can see, Ren Yin itself is spiritual pillar, and month and year is 2 spiritual pillar. All right, so for sure there is a rise of spirituality. Besides that, the earth is hollow. Whenever something is empty, people will want to search for an answer. So most of the time, they will go for the spiritual side, which is also aligned to the chart because there's 2 Ren Yin there. Okay, people are seeking for answers. People are seeking for their personal fulfillment. But the question now is, what kind of answer are you able to get? Okay, because we talk about scams. We talk about being mysterious, right? So we got to be really careful whenever we are also pursuing our spiritual beliefs or any form of that, right? It's not that people are intentionally doing it. Sometimes we just don't know, all right? So being aware at this point in time or next year is very, very, very important. And one thing that I would like to highlight at this chart is a pure indirect resource chart. There's no direct resource at all. So we are looking at a very intuitive driven year. Okay, so there's one thing that is very, very important as well. So overall, as you can see, the energy itself is quite vague, meaning there is a very strong shell from the outside, but the truth is inside is pretty empty. And the shell is very beautiful. The shell is something that will attract people due to its form of mysterious, and people want to know more. And because there's also fear, there's also power of influence, and there's also a lot of hidden agenda. So we truly don't know what is there to come. All right. And in the real world, okay, now we want to understand more on how all these things can affect in reality, is that the fact that all these things will affect the trend. Yeah. So if you want to know how to actually use the energy, right? If you know the trend, okay, you can follow the trend consciously. All right. Don't follow the trend unconsciously. Otherwise, you'll be part of the ones who fall into the trap. So following the trend consciously, meaning what is going to be popular next year. All right. So we talk about certain keywords: extreme, mysterious, fear, spirituality, power, helping people to fill in the gaps. So we're talking about selling mystery is potential. Selling fear is also potential. Selling power is also potential. Selling spirituality is also potential. Selling how to solve and find fulfillment is again another big, big potential, because people, based on the energy, will skew towards that direction, right? And the truth is, people don't know the truth. Some people think they know, some think they don't. They don't at all, because remember, it's extreme, okay? So at the end of the day, anything could happen. But bottom line is, it's going to be an extreme outcome, right? Therefore, all right, I would say the theme of the year, okay, it's all about hidden stuff, right? So something is hidden inside, right? I know it may sound like I've described the whole year as very pessimistic, right? Not optimistic at all. The truth is, that's the truth, okay? And to be honest, we haven't actually been through this kind of energy, right? But all I understand and know is that every time when we have a missing element in the chart, it's really not that great, all right? So, but when I mean by hidden, right, not everything is bad, right? Because in every year that has its challenge, there's also opportunity. It's just that now the reason why I say it's hidden, okay, because even the truth is always hidden. That's the reason why I put the word hidden here. Because what the year is really telling us is the real things, the truths are not in surface. Many things, if you want to evaluate or even want to consider a certain form of decision that you're trying to make yourself, you want to always go deeper, all right? So the hidden is not just about the danger, it's not just about the predator, but there are also a lot of hidden opportunities. But then again, because of a lot of fear, people might just want to get things quick and just take whatever they see at the top, and neglect the fact that there's the true hidden opportunities are always at the inside. So a lot of things may seem to look good and it's just out on your face, and you need to always evaluate that. So anything that may seem good, you know, and things like that, you want to evaluate further. You don't want to make a conclusion based on just that, all right? So do not buy into what everything people say, all right? Especially now, okay? As you can see, social media is everywhere. Informations are everywhere. People can say whatever they want to say, right? And it's a matter of how influential are you and how powerful are you that will dictate the outcome, and that will buy more votes, basically. So you do not want to just look into that. You want to look into things that are deeper. You want to evaluate things more, okay? Especially when it comes to news, yeah, by the way. I realized these few days, I've really gotten too many, like all those forwarded messages that's been keep forwarding. And sometimes really it's just to cultivate a lot of fear, right? So we want to evaluate that as well, right? And do not fall and be part of those who do that, right? So the idea is really to go deep, okay? And don't get distracted by what is on top, okay? One very good example that we all know now is social media, right? Everything looks good from there, okay? Same goes to even opportunities. The real opportunities is the deeper side, the inside of things, all right? So when I mean by real opportunities, by the way, doesn't mean you immediately will reap the benefits. Okay, real opportunities means it's substantial, means it's true, means it's there. It doesn't go away the next time or the next year or the next month, all right? The real things is solid and long lasting, all right? So that is the one that is really inside. However, then again, if you want to grab the opportunity that is on the surface, okay, it's not wrong, right? Because at the end of the day, if it is part of your strategy, it's okay, right, to take the opportunities that are short-term for you. However, you have to know that it is short-term and it is part of your strategy. Do not get distracted by what it is. I don't think that this can bring forward and far, because the idea is sometimes really it's not wrong to follow the energy, right? But the idea is even if you follow the energy, you have to know what kind of energy you're following, meaning you got to take accountability for whatever you have decided, right? So it's not really something bad. In fact, there's a lot of opportunities because a lot of good things are in the surface, okay? But then again, it's never going to be the real thing, right? So it's up to you on how you want to use the opportunities at the end of the day, right? But just know what you're getting yourself into, okay? So now the big question is really, all right, to ask yourself whether you are the prey or predator, right? So we talk about going into this dark jungle. You want to know whether you are going inside to be killed or going inside to hunt. Okay, so again, I would like to say this. It doesn't matter if you are there to run away, right? Or to be the one killing, the becoming a predator, all right? It's either way, being a prey or predator doesn't mean you're good or bad. It's really about knowing where you are right now, right? Because there's neither good or bad in that. It's really depending on whether or not you are playing at your right field, at your right playground, okay? Therefore, all right, it is okay to defend and stay away from places or in opportunities that you're not in game for. Otherwise, you will lose big time. Remember, we talked about extreme again, right? So to how you want to use it, right? You might ask, oh, how do I know where I am and stuff like that? Okay, that comes through understanding your personal chart plus your objective, okay? So if you want to know what kind of role are you going to play, what kind of strategy you do and everything, that comes with your personal chart. But most importantly is you have to decide. Cannot dabble around, okay? Otherwise, you're being pushed, okay? But the one thing that I truly want to highlight is, again, the danger zone of it is that the fact that because everything seems nice, everything seems like, oh, it's surface, and it could be quite delusional in some ways. I would put it that way. Fantasy, something that is intangible, right? And all these are very pretty distractions, right? That's why next year, the creative, well, even this year, the creative industry is already doing very well. Next year is even going to be better as we are proceeding to period 9. The beauty stuff is going to be enhanced, and you can start seeing it aggressively enhancing next year, right? And don't get truly only distracted by that, yeah, by the way, because there are people who's just really very good at putting out the beauty, but never actually have the real substance, therefore social media, right? So you might want to be aware of it. Okay, and remember, it's like the key here, the key challenge here is about integrity, right? And integrity to what? Integrity to the self. Okay, and of course, subsequently to others, meaning how truthful are you to yourself? All right. Because to decide even if you're a prey or predator, somewhat can challenge your ego. All right. So from there on, okay, you got to be very, very, very true to yourself. See whether you are ready or not ready. The ideas, like I said, it doesn't matter whether you are ready means you're good. It doesn't mean that you're ready means you're good and not ready means you're bad. Okay. The idea is that you are aware of it. Okay. So as long as you are true to yourself, it's okay whether you're a prey or a predator. Right. Always remember that, right? Because otherwise there'll be you will come into circumstance next year whereby there's a lot of temptations, okay, that will kind of like, this is a big tasty fish. Do you want to eat it? Right? It's very tasty. But then again, you don't have that much appetite to take it, but because you think you do, you want to take it. Okay, so there's a lot of temptations, right? If you do not already decide what you want, right? Otherwise, you will just eat the big fish and then you will have stomach ache or tummy ache or diarrhea or whatsoever. Okay, so that you need to know, and it involves a lot about integrity. How much do you want to take advantage of the opportunities? Is it a superficial opportunity? All these things, the integrity, the self, how honest are you to yourself is very important. You cannot lie to yourself, okay? Otherwise, you will fall into the trap, okay? Because, if you are clear, you won't fall into the trap. That's the bottom line. That is why ultimately, the solution to really go around it, because we cannot just say like, ignore the fact and avoid these problems, all right? Because you know why? The time itself is always giving a certain lesson to learn so that we can get ourselves ready, right? Transition period is not here to just transit, all right? Transition period is here to teach us every single step of a lesson. So we are transiting to period 9. And as we can see, since the grand conjunction in 2020, time to time, there is already a lot of lesson that is helping us to get prepared for period 9. Right, so that is this now 2022 is another layer of lessons. All right, so basically what can you do to really go around this energy is number one, awareness. That's it, really. It's as simple as it is, yeah. And to be aware of things, again, I want to emphasize this, doesn't mean you must be doing the right thing. Being aware, it means that when you do something right, you will know it's right. When you do something wrong, means you will know it's wrong. Being aware doesn't mean that you must always know that you're doing the right thing, right? It's fine to do the wrong thing, and it's important to know what are the wrong things that you have done, right? So there is no discrimination in terms of awareness. You have to know. It is literally be mindful, okay? The second thing that in my opinion, would be really helpful for the year is to really be purposeful, because the whole year itself is really quite empty and quite shallow. You do not want to let the energy just lead you to that, all right? So you have to practice purpose, right? Be purposeful, meaning know your whys, okay? Your whys, why are you doing something, right? It must be personal, must be for the self, okay? Because a lot of external influences, right, that is fake and is not yours could come and tempt you and tell you that this is your why, right? But then again, that is all external influences. As you know, we don't know what is out there, all right? So you have to be sure about your purpose, okay? And that will help you to be more clear in terms of what you want, right? You won't get distracted, you won't get tempted, okay? Because you know what, many people, there are many people like to do many things. Example, there's one period of time whereby we always say that, need to grow, need to take action, need to take action. But then again, I think sometimes we need to understand why we must do that. Why are we doing what other people is doing? Should we? You know, all these are questions that we really need to ask ourselves, especially when we enter 2022, right? You need to practice a lot of purpose. Why are you doing something, right? So spirituality, why are you practicing it in the first place, right? So all these needs to have, okay? Third is about grounding, coming back to reality. Be real, all right? Even though the real sucks, okay? Well, like I said, it's okay to be part of the superficial world. The metaverse world is fun, social media, right? We all can be part of it, definitely. But we do not want to get sucked into it, okay? And allow our decision-making ability be affected by what is not real in life. Therefore, grounding practices, coming back to reality, even though you know it's not going to be easy. But that is, at the end of the day, the lessons that we all need to learn, the fear that we need to overcome, right? So it is part of the exercise that we need to focus on next year. The last one is cultivation of your true values within. The reason why I say this is because, you know, the emptiness part, whereby the earth itself have no metal, and this itself will lead to lack of purpose, right? And also values, because metals and gems are actually the true values of the mountain, right? So by cultivating this, right, you will not be affected by what is preaching externally, right? Because you truly know how good you are or how bad you are, it's fine, right? But you know, right? And most importantly, it's you, right? People are not here to tell you how good you are. Only you know how good you are, and only you can cultivate that within you. And then again, you will not get tempted by what is out there. And this all actually can help you to avoid like getting cheated or scams. Yeah, by the way, because I tell you, within this week, I've heard so many scam stories. Seriously, it's very, 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 very scary. And I think it's really, really true. So one day, right, how many scam calls do you get? Ask yourself that. It's getting more, okay? For the past 1 week, I've been getting so many, right? So these are the kind of things that we're gonna expect. And if yourself are not grounded, if yourself don't understand your true value of yourself, you will get distracted. You know, if someone tells you put 1 million, you'll get this, and you're not sure, but you feel that you wanted it because you don't know how to do this and stuff, you will get like, you know, soft ears. That's what the Cantonese always say directly, okay? So only you can remain you and be true to who you are, right? So I would say, as a personal development perspective, these are the 4 things that you can actually look into practicing to go along together with the 2022 year, all right? So I've been talking quite a lot, all right? So at the end of the day, right, this is how the 2022 is like, right? Obviously, it's not the best year of all, but I would say it has its methods to play, right? It has its methods to go along it, okay? Ultimately, there's always something we can pick up and learn along the way, right? So depending on your personal chart, you can strategize your way out. But the very key important thing is really do not just, in a way, not decide what you want to do for the year, right? It's very, very, very important, okay? And that's why we are doing metaphysics, right? At the end of the day, it's not just to know, it's to know and then decide what you want to do. And ultimately, 2022 is a very important year to decide on that, right? So guys, okay, I hope you have enjoyed the little time that I've shared about Ren Yin, which is, I guess, not very, very optimistic charts, right? But it is the truth and it has to be told, okay? So have a little thought about your game plan in 2022, right? And like all transition period, it's not gonna be easy, okay? So for those who wants to know more, okay, on what is it like or what can you do, what are the further opportunities in terms of financial perspective or sectors or, you know, all these things, feel free to join my session, because I'm having this astrology talk on the 9th of January, 10 to 1 p.m. Okay. I'll be having this talk, all right? It's considered quite late already, but I guess there's quite a lot of people who've already registered for it. But those who are new, who doesn't know, feel free to visit my site and register for it, right? And for those who actually ask again, the consults, yes, I do have a consult for 2022 specifically. You can actually check it out on my page as well. For now, I actually open up a written report as well. So for those who are more shy, I have that option too, okay? So once again, guys, I hope these things are insightful for you. There's a lot more to talk, to be honest. But this, I think, is the key things that you can decide on your own, okay? Once again, thank you very much for being here with me again. And please, again, if you find this video useful, right, feel free to share it out in your Facebook so that it can benefit more people. With that, guys, thank you again, and I will see you next week. Bye.